Ubisoft never had the capabilities to develop Assassin's Creed, and the way that they've handled the rest of their predominant IPs is a testament to that statement. Every time I cast my mind back to Assassin's Creed, I always think of wasted potential. The way in which they handled Desmond's storyline was so poor. The way that storyline should have ended is that we continually played through the Assassin's Creed games and we continue to play as Ezio Auditore, as Altair and as Connor, and we continually complete their stories, and then that all those converging stories culminate into one final Assassin's Creed where we play in the real world. And from what we've heard, those seems to be the plans of the original series. Unfortunately, it didn't end that way. Now, what do I mean, guys, when I say Ubisoft never had the capabilities to properly develop Assassin's Creed? What I mean is that their intentions clearly became skewed as they continued to make a large amount of money from the IP. Let's consider this. Ubisoft is essentially the testament to what a fast food restaurant chain is. Once they throw something at the window and then it sticks, they don't let go. If it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And this is a testament to every single one of their IPs. Consider Far Cry. Ever since Far Cry 3 hit the window, landed and stuck, we all loved that game to a great deal, but ever since then we've been getting Far Cry 3 done again in a different environment for five or six games. Absolutely ridiculous. Once something works, Ubisoft hold on to it and make sure to pump it out and completely molest and completely suck that cash cow dry. The same has happened to all of their Tom Clancy's IP. And by the way, Splinter Cell has still not been revived. Just by the way, so if you still remember that IP. And they've done the exact same thing to the Assassin's Creed IP. And honestly, out of all of Ubisoft's titles, this is the one that they've completely ravished to the highest degree. If you consider every single aspect of Assassin's Creed, it is the definition of copy and paste. And the reason I'm even creating this video is because I've recently just went on a whole ride of trying to get back into Assassin's Creed. I recently got a PS Plus subscription, and I was saying, you know what, let me try out this Assassin's Creed bundle, this entire Ubisoft bundle that we've been hooked up with in the latest package of PS Plus, as they try their best to compete with the ever-growing Game Pass over there at Xbox. I went in, played Far Cry 4 and had a decent time, brought back some memories of how much I enjoyed Far Cry 3, but it was very, very close and similar, and you could see that the formula was followed to the T, but they at least tried something new by adding and giving some player choice, even though by the end of it, both the choices were kind of bad in a sense. But anyway, I digress. Back to Assassin's Creed, it's the definition of copy and paste. As soon as Assassin's Creed 2, where they were able to finally perfect the formula and they found a character they truly enjoyed and the characters and the fans truly liked, Ezio Auditore, they threw it out the window, it stuck, and they held onto it for dear life. You can clearly see that Ubisoft is a company that clearly pushes for profits, and making sure that their shareholders and all their employees get paid. It's about money and not about passion, and it's clearly shown in their final products of their games. If we consider the modern Assassin's Creed games, more of the newer ones, and when I mean this, I'm considering all the games that essentially came on after during the PlayStation 4 generation, about after Black Flag and all of that. So you could perhaps include something like Assassin's Creed Rogue, Unity, Syndicate, and I was recently just having a little bit of time on those titles, and what stood out to me is that, first of all, visually they aren't that impressive. It's okay, but understandable, it came out quite a while ago. But What really annoyed me is the similarity between these games. If you were to jump into Assassin's Creed Unity and jump into Assassin's Creed Syndicate the next day, other than a few visual changes in the user interface, they're essentially the same game. Now, granted, in Syndicate, they did try and update the combat system a wee bit and add some changes to the counter and attack system and being able to break defense. They added a few things that made the combat a little bit more fresh and interesting. But other than that, it was still overall just the same. It's something we're used to, it's something we've already experienced. And that's honestly the issue with Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed in general. They never truly had the capabilities to it because they had the wrong mindset from the get-go. Their goal was never passion. Their goal wasn't ever to provide a high quality project made with love, true love, passion and attention. No, their goal was honestly to make a good buck, make a good living for themselves, their shareholders and their employees. And of course, we know a lot of these companies unfortunately suffer, mainly the employees, from the crunch of them being forced to pump out these type of games on a regular basis. But unfortunately, if the end product becomes so common and so boring and dry, it's honestly quite disappointing. And as I said before, Ubisoft throws something and hope that it sticks, and when it does, they hold on to it like for dear life. It reminds me of a fast food chain or something like McDonald's. If it works, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But the thing is, if you keep on giving me a Big Mac, and a Big Mac, of course, a lot of people like the Big Mac, but if you keep on giving me a Big Mac every single year, and maybe we add a pickle this year, maybe we take out a pickle next year, maybe we add in 2 tomatoes next year, maybe next time you give me 2 extra slices of cheese, it's still a Big Mac. I'm not going to be impressed by the overall experience because it's the same-ish. Because of the way Ubisoft operates, they'll never ever be able to transcend Assassin's Creed into a series that will be remembered for years. The only reason that Assassin's Creed will ever be remembered is because of the way they've oversaturated the market. Now, granted, they have tried to change it and gone for a more RPG style ever since they introduced Assassin's Creed Origins, but at the same time, what they were trying to do was not to do something innovative or something cool. What they were honestly doing was riding a trend, because if you think of that time period in 2016, RPGs were the rave. Games such as The Witcher 3, games such as Fallout, all of these type of games, RPGs were in. Even games such as Kingdom Come Deliverance, there were a number of RPGs that came out during that time and they were hot. Ubisoft, like, okay, the fans are getting tired of the same formula, and honestly, we haven't changed that much. So how can we give the players something interesting, fresh, and new? Let's turn Assassin's Creed Origins into an RPG. And while some cool things and some different things were added, the same problems that plagued the original series still returned here. The boring, dry single-player content in terms of the side quests. Poor. The outpost being exactly the same. All of this was worse. And I'll be honest with you guys, the main quest quality definitely declined because of essentially the blurring of the main missions and the side quests. You may not understand what I mean by this, but what I mean is that a main quest will be you clearing an outpost or finding an item that is in an outpost or fort. You can do that in the side content on your own without even needing to do a main quest. So if a main quest is essentially, the only difference between a side quest and a main quest is that in the beginning and at the end of the quest there's a cutscene. That's it. There's no uniqueness. And while we did complain previously about the old Assassin's Creed, them being so homogenous, them being so exactly the same, something's been lost, as the main quests have essentially lost their charm completely. There just being a cutscene in the beginning and end does not make the quest any better. The side content is still absolutely poor, and me capturing a fort in the exact same way isn't going to be made more exciting because now there's a whack cutscene in the beginning of it. Absolutely not. The uniqueness that was found in the main quest material is absolutely lost in these newer RPG style Assassin's Creed game, and this trend continues in Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Assassin's Creed Valhalla. The quality of the overall main story content has greatly decreased in opting for a huge amount of playtime, a huge map, and honestly a huge amount of content and loot that honestly isn't that great in the first place. Now granted, the loot is on the better side, but there's too much of it that you can't even value it at all. You're going to be getting a new spear every second fight, and you're going to have to abandon it or spend a huge amount of drachma or whatever currency you're using to upgrade it. That makes it overall just not worth it. So guys, like these issues are so palpable in the series, and it annoys me so much because this idea, this genre, this series has so much potential. I cast myself to other developers such as Santa Monica Studios, and I think if they were given this IP, there's so much more they could have done with this. I think of other developers such as Sucker Punch, and it's games such as Ghost of Tsushima that show me that thank goodness that they never made an Assassin's Creed in Japan, because Sucker Punch simply did a better job. Now granted, I didn't enjoy Ghost of Tsushima that much because honestly it was essentially a super well done Assassin's Creed game that was polished to a very high degree. It's just a higher quality game. It's essentially the epitome of the Assassin's Creed or medieval open world game perfected in one silky smooth experience. That's essentially what Ghost of Tsushima is, in my opinion. So for me, I wasn't that impressed, but it just showed me that, guys, like a developer such as Sucker Punch, a developer that initially had no experience in the medieval field, they definitely had some experience in creating open world games since they made the greatly famous Infamous series, but in terms of making a medieval open world game, this was their first kick at it, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park. So it's things like this that show that even though Ghost of Tsushima, I wasn't a huge fan of it, it was clearly visible to me that it was well polished. It was a technical marvel and masterpiece, and there was definitely a substantial amount of passion, heart, love, and attention that was poured into that title, something that's sorely lacking in all of Ubisoft's title. So considering everything that I've spoken about now, it's clear that Ubisoft never had the capabilities, never had the vision, never had the mindset, never had the capabilities to be able to take this entire franchise to new heights. I hope for the day where such a series can be in better hands, where they'll be able to pour their heart and soul into making the series truly special. True shame. A true shame.